Hello everyone, this is part 25 of What If Naruto Had a Hug That Changed Everything, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The fox's final words sent a rippling echo throughout Gaara's mind, momentarily triggering something deep within his psyche. With a nearly inhuman roar that gained a raised eyebrow from Kyuubi, the transformed Nin swung his arm back to hit his smaller opponent, but once again, to no avail as he easily caught the limb. "You weakling," he said before bending Gaara's arm back in a chicken wing behind the head. He kicked out one of his legs, which were still normal for some reason, before viciously shoving his foot into his lower back, thus crackling his body the completely wrong direction. GRWAAAAWWWW. That's right. Squirm little worm. Hey. That rhymed. Get a load o' me, I'm a comedic genius. Arriving at the scene not a moment too soon was Temari. She was searching for Gaara, of course, but when she found him, she was shocked beyond all possible thought and reason. "Gaara," she nearly screamed. But what made her want to scream even more was his attacker. Instead, her eyes widened with even more shock. However, for some strange reason, she felt relieved as she maintained her surprised expression. He's alive, Temari thought to herself before a totally unconscious smile creeped upon her face. Kyuubi continued his merciless submission on the helpless Gaara, who was still roaring in pain. "What's the matter? Running out of steam? You were so eager to TK me before," he mocked as he drove his foot harder into his enemy's lower back. RROOAAAAWWWWWW. "I hate you," Gaara howled before Kyuubi viciously yanked his arm completely back. Using the foot that was lodged into his back, the blonde fox propelled himself into the air before backflipping and pushing his feet off of the tree behind to jet himself at his still distraught victim, thus slamming his fist to the back of Gaara's head with so much force that it plunged into the ground. Looming over him still, Kyuubi wasted no time in snatching Gaara's shukaku tail before yanking him out of the ground and spinning him around like wild. The Suna Genin's predicament was bleak as he screamed louder and louder with each circular spin. With all of that momentum, Kyuubi chucked Gaara in a completely random direction, causing a series of shockwaves to ripple from his flying form. Sakura, Sasuke and Pakken were just about to leave their current area to catch up to where the action was taking place until they saw a giant roaring glob of sand hurtling toward them. Reacting quickly, however, they were all able to jump out of harm's way, scattering in different directions before Gaara slammed into the rock that they once stood in front of. Whipping their attention to the heap of discombobulated Gaara, Sakura, Sasuke and Pakken were absolutely flabbergasted. Their strongest and most dangerous enemy yet was getting owned by Naruto. At least that's what two of the three thought anyway. Sakura on the other hand wasn't too sure at all if the blazing savage was Naruto. Her Naruto. In fact, she was almost certain that the vile Kyuubi had completely taken over, although it didn't make her feel any better by realizing this fact. It was simply tearing her apart. But what was even worse than the situation at that moment, what really hooked her by the balls, was the fact Ofte villages that were so horrible to him, were absolutely right. Even though she really didn't realize it what the big deal was until her mother told all, when Sakura was young, she heard the hateful and scathful things that was said to and said about Naruto when he was just a little boy. Things like demon child, demon spawn, evil seed. He was even threatened by several shinobi with death. But what caught her attention the most were the words of one particular person, he who proclaimed Naruto as the demon himself and that one day he would become possessed by the spirit. Those memories were bad enough to Sakura, but now that those terrible predictions have come true, she felt helpless now more than ever. As her thoughts raged onward, the blonde Kitsune was seen marching toward the battered Gaara, who was struggling greatly to compose himself and rise to his feet. Sakura was snapped out of a daze when the cubified Naruto walked past her to get to Gaara, only for her sadness to deepen ever more. Tears threatened to pour down her face again as she watched the possessed genin on the silent war path. "Naruto," she said with an unintended hushed tone before she rose to her hands and knees, "Naruto. Please. With his massive hearing capabilities, QB stopped in his tracks and stood silent for a moment. Please, come back to us. Come back, Sakura sobbed as the tears poured down. The blazing demon sighed in defeat. Sakura was it. Listen, I know it's tough, losing someone you care for. I should know, he began. The pink-haired Kunoiki stared at the demon's backside as he continued, but there comes a time when the ones you love disappear. Putting it simply, this is one of those times. Naruto Uzumaki is S. I did everything I could to save him, before his noble S, QB said downheartedly. Nani? Sakura questioned with unwavering sadness and confusion. The fox never turned to look at her. It was because of him that this body can still move. It is because of him that I am standing before you right now. He gave me a second chance at life, and I'm merely returning the favor, he said. Sakura's fingers pried into the ground. But, what do you mean? Are you saying that, Naruto? Yes. The boy allowed me to take control in order to save my life. Traditionally, if he SD, then I would go with him, but, the demon trailed off. The last remnants of hope that Sakura had for Naruto still existing in this dimension were thrown out the window at QB's words, and that only made her start sobbing all over again. So he's really. Damn it, she cried. QB slightly turned his head to Sakura. I couldn't save him. If only I hadn't tried to help him and let him fight Gaara like he told me to, he wouldn't have jumped in the way of that log, she continued before pounding her fist into the earth. I was so stupid. No, he's gone and I let it happen. Despite the situation, like he really gave a damn, QB scoffed as he remembered something. You know what? You're right. It is all your fault, B. Naruto was young, and yet I could tell that he would have thrown away all of his ideals, all of his dreams, all that he ever was, even his life, just to keep you happy. And here you are now, crying like AL over the one boy that showed you any recognition after what you did to him. You disgust me, Haruno, he spat. Sakura wrapped her arms around herself and trembled helplessly, but QB fully turned around to face the jade-eyed genin. But what? Let me guess, it was only after his death that you truly realized what you had, and now that it's gone you can't stand it. You cowardly, selfish bee, he roared. Sakura's tears became more fierce. Stop it. I didn't want this to happen. I just. Silence. You sickening little see, I should just let you and be done with you. You're not even worth it, you shallow fornicatress. Sakura finally broke down and cried loud and hard. God. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, she yelled almost hysterically. Sorry won't bring him back, will it? Live with shame, B. See how long you can even look at yourself in the mirror knowing that you're responsible for Naruto Uzumaki's death. You're a disgrace to your species. Feeling unable to take any more, Sakura nearly pierced her fingers into her arms until she screamed, Naarutoo. QB then shook his head and turned his back on the crying female, TCH. Cry and beg all you want, you're still meaningless, he spat before marching over to Gaara, who just barely managed to pick himself up but was struggling to keep his footing. Sasuke and Pakken saw the whole thing. In almost a heartbeat, the Uchiha and the little brown dog rushed to Sakura's side, but it was obvious to them that she was not in the mentality to talk, in a civilized matter anyway. I hate you, you demon SC. Bring my Naruto back, Sakura screamed through her now hateful tears. When she didn't get an answer from the blazing demon, she nearly lost it completely. I hate you KYUUBI, she screamed at the top of her lungs. Good. I hate you too, B, QB thought with a satisfied smile on his face. Sasuke's eyes nearly popped out of his skull when he heard that, what? Kai. QB. That guy that we're looking at now is. But that's impossible. QB was defeated years ago. Right, he said while looking at the glaring Sakura. I hate you. I hate you so much. First my father and now my lovable idiot. I'll never forgive you. Never, Sakura silently cried. Meanwhile, Nekoshi and Kitsune rushed to their fiendish sensei as they made the long haul to the tremendous mountain where he was headed. The area around them darkened as the clouds became gray and black, signaling the storm that was to come. Kitsune, look, Nekoshi said as he pointed to the distant mountain. Kitsune saw what her comrade was pointing to, and oddly enough she smiled at it. The storm clouds at the mountain were symbolically spiraled around the very top of it, giving a very nefarious vibe to it. So he's already made it there. From the looks of it, he's still preparing for it, she said. Good. That means that we have enough time to bust our asses and still make it on time before he chews us out for being late. Do you have the seal? He asked. Kitsune smiled and cradled her arms around her B area, always. I'll never let anything happen to the seal, she said with conviction. Nekoshi returned the smile before they increased their already unbelievable speed in order to cut the time it would take to get to their destination in half. Nekoshi and Kitsune, you'd better be ready for us. Naruto. Gaara was at a standstill with aggressive fear as he looked down at the blazing warrior he fought against. So far, he hardly had any luck changing his situation, and the more he fought the worse his situation seemed. Though it was hard to face, Gaara was actually scared for the first time in many years. This can't be happening. He's a weakling. He can't compete with me. So why is this happening? Gaara inwardly questioned at this ridiculous situation. Kyuubi continued to glare up at his outclassed enemy. What's the matter, boy? I thought you were gonna crush me. Am I not? What was it again? Your prey, he mocked. Gaara simply growled as a response. Kyuubi shrugged. Ya know what? Since I'm normally a stand-up guy, I'll let ya have one more freebie, he said before turning his head to the side and slapping his right cheek with his left hand. Come on, slap, slap, right here. As hard as ya can. Don't hold back. Gaara's eyes widened in pure disbelief. Was this little S mocking him? Was this little 2-bit, rat effin', prick son of AB seriously mocking him? Ho 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 ho, hell no. You dare to mock me, he roared before reeling his massive hand back to strike with all he was worth. Unfortunately, Kyuubi once again launched half of his arm into Gaara's abdomen with much more force than before, sending a rippling pulse of numbing pain throughout the half-demon's body as he choked and gagged. After a moment that seemed like an eternity, Gaara steadily stumbled back while locking his arms over his burning abs, his eyes bulging out. You'll never win, he managed to choke out. I'll get you for this. HMPH. Not likey. I mean, if you were unable to see that one coming after the first time, seems rather offset to me, Kyuubi retorted indifferently before vanishing out of sight. Without time to react, Gaara's lower jaw was ferociously uppercutted, jettisoning him high into the air with tons of saliva hurtling out of his mouth. Given time to think, Kyuubi idly crossed his arms and closed his eyes as Gaara continued his assailment. How did he do it again? Oh come on Kyuubi, you've seen him do it thousands of times. Damn, it's a miracle I even remembered what it's called now that I'm actually trying to. Got it, Kyuubi shouted before producing a familiar hand seal, Kage Bushin no Jutsu. With those words, Kyuubi was suddenly surrounded by 200 clones of himself. The demon looked around at his handiwork. Meh, not bad for my first time, but I could have done better. Anyway, half of you get up there and bring our guest back down here for some more fun. Clones. Hell yeah. With that, 100 of the clones jumped high into the air and caught up with the severely distressed Gaara, who noticed them almost immediately. Oh no. Now what? He bellowed. Clone. Quit ya bein'. Clone. You actually, though we were through. Clone. Not a chance. Clone. Now get ready for a poundin. With that entire faction of sly clones put Gaara through a huge pinball effect, throwing and hitting him in every possible direction without mercy. Before too long, they finally let gravity do its job and allowed him to fall before they bunched together and launched themselves downward, unleashing a barrage of sly kicks all over the frontal side of the unfortunate Genin's body. With that assault, the battered nin soared back down to earth, awaiting the inhuman punishment that were to befall him when he finished his plummet, but Kyuubi couldn't wait that long. Without warning, the demon and the rest of his clones leaped into the air and took it on home with yet another unsurmountable combo of multiple punches, but this time to Gaara's backside. With his body reduced to an oozing, deformed hunk of sand, Gaara was predictably unable to counter a staggering slam kick that sent him to the ground with explosive results. On a single whim, Kyuubi dispersed his clone before landing on a tree branch and staring down at the large crater that housed the no doubt CS-pled Gaara. The ancient demon wore a schmuck look on his face as he heard to agonized groaning and gurgling. However, he was incredibly surprised by what he saw. Gaara actually crawled out of the crater. Although he was severely fed up beyond all reason, he was still alive, much to Kyuubi's fascination. But how? How can he be so strong? I don't understand. Where did all of that power come from, enough to best me, in all aspects? Gaara inwardly grimaced before actually managing to stand even after all of that. No. There's no way. Not to him. There's just no way, that I'm gonna lose to a guy like him. Without warning, Kyuubi sensed a massive wave of power emanating from his crushed opponent before an enormous burst of smoke exploded within the area, covering the entire area. Though Kyuubi didn't budge an inch, he was oh so curious as to what his punching bag was up to. Then, he saw the glowing yellow eyes of an old friend. This sight was more than enough to put a smile on the demon's face. HM. Well, what do ya know? I guess I finally pushed the right buttons, Kyuubi thought to himself. When the smoke cleared, it revealed the hulking massive form of Ichibi no Shukaku. The sand spirit, with Gaara still in control. Towing over the trees with his single giant tail looming overhead, Gaara looked directly at his enemy with a surprising amount of intent. To Kyuubi it was surprising. The others kinda went pale. Well, you should feel honored. I never imagined that you'd bring this out of me, he said before lifting one of his massive arms, thus commanding streams of sand to sliver up Kyuubi's legs. However, the clever demon simply jumped out of harm's way, landing all the way back in front of Sakura, Sasuke and Pakken, who were, well, let's just say that they were zoning out right now. Okay, you idiots, Kyuubi began, catching the attention of the others, you'd better get out of here, and leave this one to me. At first they all merely stared at the blazing beast in human form, but then Sasuke spoke up. You still never told us who you are, he said, still denying the fact that this god was Naruto. Or Kyuubi. Kyuubi turned his back to them all and remained silent as he really was in no mood to talk to Sasuke team either, never mind Sakura B. I'll tell you who he is, Sakura suddenly blurted out, gaining the attention of her comrades. Even Kyuubi, I'll tell you, after we get out of here. This there's right. We can't stay here. Though Kyuubi grimaced at this little bee talking about him like that when he was damn well capable of tearing her in half, he smiled at her audacity. And here I thought that Naruto had the balls in this relationship. Alright B and non-Bess, you know what to do. Leave this place at once. We'll meet again someday, hopefully not though, Kyuubi said without even turning to look at their faces again. Hold it. Kyuubi's brow furrowed in slight confusion as he didn't quite recognize the voice. He turned around and saw that Pakken had stepped up to the plate. You expect us to simply trounce off in the opposite direction without any answers, the little brown dog said. HMMRR. You insolent little canine. You dare to question me. Do you have any idea who I am? I'd be an idiot not to know who you are, but that's not the point. Why are you doing this? Why go out of your way to help us? Surely a creature of your caliber would have to be hooked by the jewels to do something like this. So why the assistance? Pakken persisted with his questions. Kyuubi was silent for a moment, gaining a look of sudden curiosity on the faces of Sakura and Sasuke as they awaited his answer. After a moment more of silence, Kyuubi sighed. Well, I can guarantee that it is because of no personal affection for US weeds. But Naruto SD his very soul to grant me a second chance at life. Despite what this demon had done and the hardships that he was responsible for, that boy forgave him and spared his existence. I have never, in all of my eons of life, experienced such a pure chaperone of humanity. And although it actually depresses me, the only thing that I can do to repay his debt of honor, is to make sure that you pathetic fools remain alive. Even you. Haruno, you worthless bee. Sakura was silent yet held a look of nothing but contempt for the demon before her. And I swear to God, if you ask me who I am again I'll s your lower jaw from your skull, Uchiha, Kyuubi immediately threatened, causing Sasuke to lower a raised finger and seal his lips shut. Naruto Uzumaki, where are you hiding? Gaara roared as he found it unnaturally difficult to detect the presence of his greatest foe. Catching this, Kyuubi turned his back once again. Go now, he barked. Looking at each other, Sasuke and Pakken nodded in agreement. Thank you, Sasuke said almost hesitantly. Kyuubi was silent. Finally they left to find a safer place to hide. Well, two of them did at least. When Sasuke noticed that Sakura wasn't running along with them, he turned around, but what he saw after that is what shocked him the most. The raven-haired Uchiha stopped in his tracks and cringed his face greatly at the sound he heard combined with the sight that he saw. Kyuubi was turned right back around to face the direction, only his head slightly turned to the side, a crazed sneer on his face, and who could ignore a burning red mark on his cheek? Not to mention Sakura's arm curled to the other side of her. Even Pakken, who had just barely turned around, had noticed what the pink-haired female had just did. Possibly the biggest and last mistake of her miserable existence. Now you listen to me, you sorry son of a b. I don't care about your past. I don't care about your reputation or your god-forsaken motives. I've been letting you get away with saying whatever the f you wanted to me, and I'm not gonna just slip my tail between my legs and run off at your whim, you piece of s, Sakura wailed. Kyuubi was silent. You know what? I don't believe you. Not in the slightest. I sure as f don't think that Naruto actually s that much for a vile cretin like you. I don't care who the hell you think you are, I'm staying here to see you destroyed, you wrecked hunk of trash. Kyuubi was still silent. Sakura, Sasuke said in a wondering fashion. Oh Jesus, here it comes, Pakken said before resting his head on the ground and holding his paws over his ears. Zooms off of the county side. How dare you talk to me like Instantly realizing that he had just fed up, Kyuubi slapped his hands over his mouth before whipping his head up to see Gaara glaring down at him all. Without another moment's notice, the mega-monstrous Gaara lunged his deformed-looking fist down at his victims, crushing that entire and sending a massive shockwave outwards. Sasuke and Pakken were still okay, yet they were blown quite a distance away. Kyuubi, on the other hand, was in the worst state of his life. He was suspended in the air after a jump, with Sakura in his arms once again. This is all your fault. Oh shut it, Fox. Like it or not, you're stuck with me. That one right there, is what finally broke the camel's back. As they fell to the ground, Kyuubi harbored a blank expression. When they landed upon a tree branch, he still had that expression. Sakura simply let herself down and brushed herself off to rid herself of the demon's filth. So what the hell are you gonna do now, Kyuubi-sama? I'm someone of your genius can figure a way out of this mess, Sakura mocked with her hands to her hips. Kyuubi remained silent with that same expression on his face. Hello. I'm talking to you, ya stupid grolp. Silencing the annoying squeaky sounds that were the words of Sakura was Kyuubi's hands tightly clasped around her n. Before she even had a chance try to break his grip around her, the demon reeled his fist back and slammed it into her face with so much force that it sent her crashing into the ground below, thus bouncing, sliding, rolling and tumbling across it before she finally hit her back against a tree, upside down with her legs parted on either side of her and spinning swirls replacing her eyes. HMHMHM. HMR ha 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 ha. Mwah ha 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 ha. MWAAAHAHAHAHAHAHAH. Out of. Back in the plane of reality. Ha 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 ha. Kyuubi cackled to himself as he lavished in his brutally natured fantasy before stopping immediately and turned his head to the side, noticing that Sakura was giving him a questioning stare. What the F are you looking at, B? Stop calling me a B, Sakura howled with her fists clenched before her. Kyuubi had enough. Okay, that's it. Listen to me. You can't stay her. It is much too dangerous for me to fight at my full prowess and protect you, he tried to explain with as much civil manners as possible. Sakura scoffed, and exactly who asked you to protect me anyway, huh? I don't remember asking for your goddamn help. So who told you to? Naruto did. Those words completely numbed Sakura's lower jaw as it was now hanging open. W what? She stammered. Kyuubi closed his eyes. His final request was that I make sure that nothing happened to you today, so that you would live on and prosper for the both of you. I personally think he cared for you too damn much, but, he explained. Sakura was instantly at a loss for words now. This entire time, Kyuubi was honorably fulfilling Naruto's request to keep her safe, this entire time. It was at that moment that a certain possibility hit her, that maybe Kyuubi's insults and extreme Sakura bashing, snickers behind the scenes, were just a way for her to actually leave at her own free will so she could live to see the next sunrise. Stop talking, and just, go. Your very sight irritates me, so disappear already. Sakura was stunned. To be perfectly honest, she was truly and genuinely stunned. Kyubi no Kitsune, the demon that nearly destroyed all of Konoha, was risking his end to keep her and Sasuke safe, at Naruto's request. Up until that point, Sakura had seen Kyubi as nothing but pure evil, mainly because of his past history with her village. But seeing this act of honor actually warped that idea of the demon. She simply stared at him, inwardly smiling. You. The Yoko turned his head to the side to look at her again. What the? Are you still here? Get the F out of here before I just sit back and let you s, he roared. Even at this, Sakura smiled gratefully. Thank you, she said before prancing off. Kyubi merely scoffed. F you. God, I hate that bee, he huffed under his breath before looking up at Gaara, who had just now spotted him. You make no sense to me. Why go so far for their worthless lives? Don't you see that you're strong enough without them? Gaara asked as he glared down at his prey. HM. You won't have to worry about that anymore, my boy. They're gone now. It's just you and me, the blonde kitsune said before falling into a pit of deep thought, but still. I do not desire to fight him in this body, this is quite the conundrum. He is one step closer to bringing Ichibi to the surface. And I don't want to be seen like this. I have inherited the boy's abilities. It would be an uncanny coincidence, but maybe, just maybe. As Kyubi's thoughts surfed through his mind, he rose his fist and began to fill it with unsurmountable energy and blazing chakra. Yes, this is it. Prepare yourself, boy. This will be the end for you, he threatened before lifting his overpowered fist into the air. Gaara's brow furrowed in curiosity. Normally I wouldn't do this, but given the circumstances, well, let's just say that I'm really looking forward to seeing an old friend again. Pouring more and more energy into his fist, Kyubi's smile became large and almost sickening, before viciously slamming his limb into his own chest, breaking clean through his rib cage. Almost immediately after that, many trail of blood seeped from out of Kyubi's mouth as he dug through and forced his fist deeper into his chest. Burhaw. Damn. That hurt. A lot more than it was supposed to. Growl. Curse this frail human form, the demon gurgled through unabolished agony. Seeing this, Gaara couldn't help but laugh evilly, giving up. I certainly didn't expect you to do so, especially when you were doing so well. Now matter, I will gladly assisted your s, he said before once again summoning the sand to encase the self-injured Kyubi. Without any intention of moving, Kyubi lifted both of his hands together as he started focusing more of his chakra. Once the sand was fully encased around him, Gaara cliched his fist to finish the job. Sand burial. Kuchio's no Jutsu. X. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.